morning, MadFest. Thank you, everyone, for making the effort to get here so early. There's a few more people coming in now. Come on in. I'm Sam Kelly. I'm the Chief Experience Officer of Virgin. I've done 20 years at an agency, a design and innovation agency called AKQA. And I've now gone client side, so I've seen both sides of the experience. I'm excited to talk to you about the human connection today. There's been a plethora of AI and optimization and efficiency and everyone running after the latest thing. And I think today's topics around the human connection is really, really important for all our brands as we move forward. So to start, I just want us to cast our minds back 7 years ago. So we went through COVID, and during COVID, remote working suddenly became a thing. I don't think before then hardly any of us used video calls. And we suddenly had these back-to-back calls, and it felt exhausting because you'd go from physically being in the office and probably doing two or three meetings a day, and you'd go and get a coffee, you'd speak to someone, you'd go and sit down for lunch, you might go out for a walk. And we just went into this world where suddenly 10 back-to-back calls and just clicking a button and going on to the next one became a thing. And then you'd get to the end of the day and get up from your desk at home and go, oh my God, I'm exhausted. And there was this whole thing around Zoom fatigue. And it was quite interesting because when you're at home and you're on a video call, your brain has to work harder because you can't see body language. It's harder to read the room. You don't see their whole body either. And so we became really productive. We became very efficient. And it was relentless. And we still have that in today's world. We still go home and do our video calls from home 2 or 3 days a week. And then we fast forward, we got good at being really, really busy in our lives. Literally, we have scheduled out every gap, every micro 5 minutes. We're scrolling, we're doing something. And literally, it has become this amazing time where we have forgotten how to pause, and every moment has become occupied. And somewhere in there, we've forgotten what the most valuable thing is to us as marketeers and brands, and that is that ability to dream. AI has now arrived, and the instinct, the corporate instinct with AI, is the efficiency instinct. It's like, great, let's fill the time. It saves you more meetings, more output, more delivery. I mean, it's the same trap, but it's just a different tool in today's age. And efficiency is becoming confused with meaning. And so I truly believe that 2026 is actually one of the most exciting times for us to be human again, precisely because AI can do so much of our routine. Human creativity, empathy, and also connection has become that scarce resource. And that's exciting because the brands that win next won't be the most automated brands. They'll be the most human brands. And there's a concept worth naming here. It's called incubation. Psychologists call it incubation. And basically, it's when you shower, when you go out for a walk, when you stare out the window, your brain switches in. It doesn't stop working. It just switches into a deeper associative mode. There's actually another term for it, which is called hypochondriac. And basically, there's some very famous, it's that creative nap between being awake and falling asleep. And there's some very famous people that used to use it, what they used to do. So people like Einstein and Salvador Dali. Salvador Dali would fall asleep with a key in his fingers. And as soon as he went, the key hit the plate on the floor and woke him up. And then he'd draw what he was just about to dream about. And Steve Jobs does other things. He goes for a walk. So when Steve Jobs was stuck with an idea, he'd go out for a 10-minute walk and just try and go into a different state. Paul McCartney came up with the lyrics for Yesterday using the same techniques as well. And it makes connections that your conscious mind can't make. But we've built a working culture now that systematically has eliminated incubation, and we call it productivity. And so I think today, if we have a choice where AI is it's giving us time back for more productivity, I would say use that time for more humanity and protect that time. Probably one of the most valuable spaces in your diary is those gaps, and protect those gaps as you move forward. Don't let AI do the grunt work. It keeps us slaves to our screen. Let it do the reporting, the formatting, the first drafts. It can do that. But those gaps are the most precious time. And that gives us something that we'd forgotten how to have. And that's that time to dream again and that era of imagination. Now, we used to tell people many years ago when I started out in the industry what our brand was. Lots of advertising, this is who we are. That has changed in today's world. And we say our brand isn't our message, it's their memory. And I think that is what the experience of brand is all about today. We've got to remember that customers have multiple outlets to tell their story, their authentic story to millions of people. So it's not just what we say we are, it's what people experience. And I believe CXO, not CEO, although I've got promoted, thank you, Justin, is kind of the modern day title for CMO as well, as we move towards human experiences. And I didn't want to be in charge of the message. I want to be in charge of the memory that our customers go away with. The other thing that we know is that our customers always tell us that it's the humans, the people at Virgin, that make the difference. And Richard has a very famous saying, which is, happy employees equals happy customers, which equals happy shareholders. So we always try and start stuff with our employees. Hopefully many of you will know this. I can't believe I'm going to play an Alan Partridge clip at a conference. But I love this clip because it resonated with me so much from a recent experience. And this is what human-first interaction looks like. It's imperfect, it's warm, and it's remembered as well. It's awkward, but it's got an unexpected warmth to it. And that's what people remember. That's what gets retold.
I'd like to order an Americano, please.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Can I have an Americano, please?
You order it on the touchscreen.
But you're here.
I know, but you do it on the touchscreen.
Okay, why?
That's why you do it.
Right, and what happens then?
The order goes to the barista.
And who's that? So, can you make the coffee?
Nothing's come through.
Okay, yeah. Start new order. Takeaway, hot drinks, Americano, medium, place order. There we go. It says placing order. So can you make it?
Does it say placed or placing?
Placing.
Yeah, nothing's come through.
Okay, well, can you not start making it?
I don't know what you want.
I want an Americano medium
Yeah,
to
it's
go.
come through.
Right, great, thank you. Does it strike you as insane that you're there and I'm here and we have to go through a robot middleman to order a coffee? Instead of me using my mouth to communicate the information to your ears, which is how human beings have done it for 10,000 years? Gotta be 10,000 years. It wouldn't have been a coffee then, it would have been, I don't know, woolly mammoth milk, something like that.
What did you say?
It was ironic that the very technology designed to bypass human interaction actually sparked a lively conversation. We talked about the internet, AI, even how robots were once used to sell instant potato.
I love the clip because I went to do an interview about 2 months ago at a social media company, which will remain nameless. And I walked in, and there was 3 people sat on the front desk. And I walked in, and I went, hi, I'm here to film an interview with X. And they went, all right, sign in over there. And I turned around, and there was 3 iPads. And I went, all right. Typed my name in the iPads. A ticket came out, and I turned back, and they went, you sit over there. And I went, oh, okay. Sat down, and I thought, well, what are you 3 doing? Like, if the iPads are doing that, where's the warm welcome? Where's the would you like a drink? Like that first touch. And it's become operationally perfect, but we're emotionally dead. And that's what efficiency looks like when it's the only lens. And some of you will probably have seen this at a hotel check-in. But somebody somewhere has decided that's better. And it might be somebody in finance, it might be somebody in IT, because they can get the data, they know your check-in times, they know the NPS held steady. Yet nobody will go home from that hotel and tell their friends about arriving at that hotel and how wonderful it was. And so the hotel didn't save money, it just became forgettable. And I think in the sea of sameness, average doesn't just underperform, it actually disappears. And so the uncomfortable truth for most brands in their entire strategy is that it's built around optimization. And we've become obsessed with optimization and efficiency. Lower the costs, smooth the journey, reduce the variables. But every variable we remove is a potential moment for humanity. And humanity is the only thing that creates memory. Now, one more clip, and I love this. Hopefully some of you have heard of the Greeters Guild. The Greeters Guild is a viral comedy persona, gentleman called Troy Hawk, who films himself outside shops, uninvited, and just gives lovely comments to guests as they come in. Just look at the emotion on their faces and how happy they are.
Where are you from?
I'm from a Greeters Guild. Welcome to B&Q, madam. I hope you get everything you're looking for. Not just here, in life.
Corrugated sheeting, yeah.
It's corrugated sheeting, but the birds have been using it for something else, haven't they, sir? Make sure you demand the attention of our staff. They can't wait to serve you. You have the ankles of a tradesman. Excellent carry, sir. Nearly taken out by the doors, but we got that. You look ready for soft welding. I hope we have everything you need for your home improvements in our store. Enjoy your bamboo. Madam, I've not seen anybody manage to merge and match their hair with their working apparel. Never change.
Where are you from?
I'm from a Greeters Guild, just to improve customer service in the post-pandemic era, just to put a smile on everyone's face.
No, we don't want it.
You don't want a smile on anyone's face?
Because we've got customers complaining
What was the nature of the complaints, if you don't mind me asking?
that you're greeting them.
They're complaining that I'm greeting them.
Yeah, it's not what we're about.
You don't like
No.
friendliness. Fair enough, I understand. I'm off-brand. I'm off-brand.
Yeah.
Welcome
It's
to
just-
B&Q, sir. I hope you
Yeah.
find everything you need.
No, we don't want that.
Love it. It's great. It's just such, it just goes to show just those small welcomes put a smile on people's faces. And so I'm not anti-technology at all. I love AI, but machines should only do what machines do well, and people should do what only people can do. And I think there's a false choice at the moment that's being made across the industry, which is efficiency or humanity. And most of the time, efficiency will win because your CFO will turn around and go, well, I can measure that super clearly. I can see on all the touch screens and everything that we've got and on the data of everything and how much people are using things. Whilst measuring humanity is a much harder thing to measure, and the industry's, getting to grips with it. And I would say the real question to all of us is, what deserves to stay human? And those moments that create memory are those moments that deserve to stay human. And the machine got you the key at the hotel, but did it make you want to come back? And employees should be freed up to be human and not replaced by machine entirely. And there is psychology behind this. There's actually biology. Like one warm human moment triggers oxytocin. So there's a release into the body. And that trust increases measurably, and then memory encoding then activates when you have that warm connection, that moment. Generally, there's a thing called the peak-end rule in psychology, where people will remember the peak of your experience, and they will remember the end of your experience. So you should always think about what is the peak of our experience, and what is that end that people will remember as well. And when oxytocin is triggered, it increases trust by up to 80%. And I think, a personalized email to 10 million people doesn't necessarily trigger a single oxytocin response. But a cabin crew member, when they see a nervous flyer and goes over to them and notices it and makes you feel more comfortable, triggers that response and that memory. And then I think we have become so obsessed with screens in this world that I would say we're stuck in the static. We designed for eyes and ears, screens, banners, push notifications, emails. The average person sees between 4,000 and 10,000 messages a day from brands, and so almost none of those are remembered. And I think the competitive advantage is no longer getting in front of people. I think it's more around getting inside their memory, and that requires more than digital reach. So as marketeers, I think we tend to forget that we have 5 senses. And materiality is core to storytelling. And I would urge all of you to think about that. And there's a great study by Nike. This was by a scientist, Dr. Alan Hirsch of the Smell and Taste Research Institute. And he evaluated 2 identical Nike trainers, sneakers, in 2 different rooms. The rooms were identical. One was scented with a floral scent, one was unscented. The participants were 84% more likely to purchase the shoes and were willing to pay $20 more in the scented environment. And I would have you think about your brand as a multi-dimensional experience. What's the smell? What's the touch? What's even the taste? Beyond just the screens.
What do you desire? Is it a place you've never been to? Is it a person you've never met? What if your object of desire is literally an object? Introducing ship number 1, the signature scent of the Scarlet Lady from Virgin Voyages.
It smells like ship.
Funny, we have that scent in our reception in Virgin HQ, and the number of people that walk in the door and go, oh my God, it smells like the cruise I went on. It's just those memory, that scent is the biggest trigger of memory, if anyone knows that. And we don't even think about it half the time. So how do we create something that moves people? I think customers are seeking those tactile sensory experiences, and we need to counter digital saturation and AI fatigue. And I think behind every brief, the question that it should be asking is not how do we reach people or how do we convert people. I think the question we need to be asking is how do we move them? How do we make them feel something? Because movement is emotion, and emotion creates memory. And that memory creates loyalty. And I think when we look at today's world, we are more connected than ever. Yet we have never been so disconnected as a nation, as a planet. Loneliness is at epidemic heights. Quantity is outmuscling quality, especially in the AI age. We've got endless channels, but shallower conversations. And social comparison is everywhere, and that's hardly morale boosting either. And so digital convenience has eroded that real connection. Why nip round to a friend's house when you can text? Why ring when you can send a voice note? These tiny choices all add up. And basically, you're swapping hearty dinners for toast. And you finally notice something eventually, that something's missing in the world. And, we have less shared downtime now because our phones fill every gap of the day. But people are starting to drift back to conversation. People are starting to drift back to slower experiences and communities where they feel known and they also are not just followed. They're a person within that community, and demand for real things and human connection is skyrocketing. You will all see it today, you'll all hear about it, and you've probably been to a lot of things as well. And I think the rebel move of today for all of your brands is to build things that are unrepeatable and meaningful. They're worth pausing for, they're worth dressing up for, and they're worth caring about as well. So the Virgin brand can be summed up in 6 words. Basically, it's not a strategy and it's not a framework, it's a human commitment that we have. And this is be the reason someone smiles today. We share it amongst all of our team, all of our employees. It's actually inspired by a driftwood sign somewhere up a mountain, which Richard rides past every day. And every person in this room, today, you will have a moment in a meeting, in an email, in a conversation, and you can make the choice to be the reason that someone will smile today. And so I want you to take away from this talk 3 things today. The first is, what are those peak moments in your experience that only a human can do? And then, what is the last thing a customer feels when they leave you? And then, what is that peak moment in your experience? It's not the average of everything, but what is that one peak moment of your experience that you are going to provide? That is it from me. Thank you very much. Welcome to MadFest, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day.
Sam, thank you so much. I love that. It's a great start today. I've got a couple of questions, but one question from me first. When you started, you talked about protecting those 5 minutes. Those 5 minutes in between everything else that we're meant to get through. So what tips do you have to help people protect those 5 minutes? I think even though the idea sounds great, our lives now are a constant stream, as you said, calls and texts and meetings. And
Yeah, you have to be. You have to be deliberate about it. Like, if you've got a meeting and it's only half an hour, go for a walk with a person. Don't sit in the room where they can be on their laptop or have their phone out. Just say, let's go for a walk. There was some useful learnings I had from someone I met once, and they said, I want you to work out what your day looks like. And I put my day together, and he said, well, there's too much going on. Do all your meetings in the morning, make sure you have an hour for lunch, and then in the afternoon you can get on with your emails and stuff. And then he said, I want to see what your week looks like. And he made me plan out a week, and he said, always keep Fridays free. Don't put anything in on Friday, so when you get through the week, you've got Friday to either catch up on stuff or have a bit of downtime. And then he said, what does the next month look like? And when I see you next, I want to know where you're going on holiday. And so there is a real, you have to be deliberate about it within your thing, because the digital world has allowed us to click a button to go from meeting to meeting. And you need that time in between to just decompress, catch up, go for a walk, go and have a conversation with one, because that's where the magic happens, not necessarily in all the meetings.
Amazing. One last question. Again, everyone listening today would have thought this sounds amazing that you work for Virgin. I know you in AKQA, you work with some of the world's best brands, but can any brand act in the way that Virgin does? Can any brand, a paint brand, have a smell, have this sort of and create this experience you talk about, or is it just brands like Virgin?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone's got their unique DNA as a brand. It's just uncovering it in creative ways. And also, not being afraid to be a challenger. No, we're not the biggest brand in any of our businesses. We're not the biggest airline, we're not the biggest cruise line, we're not the biggest hotel line, but we have an attitude and a DNA of this kind of challenger where we can do things differently and we've got permission to do things differently. And I think it's having that as well, like being allowed, people want that today. People don't want the same or the efficiency or the optimization. Maybe at some areas, like hotel checkout, I love when it's Keeler, you just walk out and chuck it in the box and go. But when I walk in, I want a warm welcome, I want to feel like they know me. And I think we've just become overly reliant on all of this new technology to fill these human spaces.
Sam, an inspirational start to Manifest. Thank you so much.
Thank you.